Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to Mr. J's Big Book of Movies, where my quest is to find the best movies in the land to put into my Big Book of Movies. What does it take to get into the Big Book of Movies? That's what we do here every Saturday to find out. I was sick the other weekend, so I owe you guys a Black History Month film. And instead of being real serious and everything, I decided to go a different route. I decided to go a fun route. Because in watching movie reviews, I watched a certain critic, I'm not going to display his name, but he said this specific movie would not be able to be made today. And I wondered if that was true. And does it have to do with Black history? Yes and no at the same time. It's not a biopic. It's not about actual historical events. But it's a day in the life in the hood. And it's done so well. A lot of people don't give it credit for what it's actually doing, what it's actually portraying. So, without further ado, let's take a look at Friday. Friday was released April 26, 1995. It was directed by F. Gary Gray. IMDb states that two homies, Smokey and Craig, smoke a dope dealer's weed and try to figure out a way to get the $200 they owe to the dealer by 10 p.m. that same night. That's not the plot of the film. That's a storyline within the film. And yes, that's the main storyline, but I would put it very broad and say that Friday is a 12-hour day in a life in the hoods of California. So starting at the top, we have rewatchability. And with this movie, I love this movie. I feel it's an instant favorite. And I do feel because of my ethnicity, it gives me a bigger smile than some. And I know you guys are asking yourself, what does this have to do with Black history? Let me explain as I go on to storyline. So with storyline, I give it a 5 because of specific things. So obviously the film follows our main character, our main character, Craig, and our main character, Smokey. But storyline wise, hear me out. So, usually you have movies that take place in the ghetto, and there's drug dealers everywhere, there's broken homes, people are eating out of the trash, but our main character, Craig, has both his parents. Both his parents are working, and has a sister in college. So, not only do they have money to send one of their children into college. The mother has a car, and the father drives a company vehicle. So they're very well-to-do off. These aren't, your stereotypes that you're used to. We have Smokey, who is lives with his mom, and it almost makes fun of the stereotypes that are put down on the psyche of living in the ghetto. You have your across the street neighbor who's very attractive, which happens in every neighborhood in the U.S. You know what I'm saying? And the kids on the street think she's really attractive. They feel that she shouldn't be married to who she's married to, that she could do better. Everywhere in the U.S., it's a thing where the reverend of the local church is having numerous affairs. We see that there. we see the love interest, Debbie, who's going to school, who is on the straight edge, who's on the up and up, whose sister may not be doing the greatest, yet she's trying to do better herself. And they live with their mother, and their mother is in Vegas with their boyfriend. So even in the ghetto and in, white suburbia, you have single parent families. And it's not like divorce or separation only happens in the ghetto. And it's like it does a very good job of explaining just a day in a life in a neighborhood that could be anywhere USA. And a lot of people don't get it credit for that. So I definitely give storyline a 5. Characters, I give a 4. And it's not so much for the acting itself, but it's what everyone stands for. And this may take a while, but I'm going to go through the characters one by one. So you have your main character, Craig. He's the oldest son of a 4-person family. He recently lost his job. He's a little distraught about it. And he's just trying to live every day at a time. He really doesn't have any aspirations, but you can tell he's very close-knit to his family. You have the other main character, you have Smokey, who lives in a single-parent home, is very reckless, and he smokes marijuana. And that's half the joke of the entire movie. You have Debbie. She is in school. Now, I know there's an indication that Craig is 22 years old in this. So when they say school, I'm assuming college. And Debbie is a sister. And she goes to school. She's on a straight up and up, and she's trying to do better for herself. She feels comfortable in her neighborhood, that she goes jogging and goes to a gym that's not far from her home, You have Debo, the neighborhood bully. Every neighborhood has a bully. And we see a side story of him. You have Mr. Jones and Mrs. Jones, married, love each other. They are very close to their family. And that is seen a lot in everyday movies. But it's not always an occurrence in black movies. And it's like it shows that in the ghetto, where it has the analysis of being the worst place in the world, yeah, you do have a mother and father in the home. You have a loving family, and they do get along. We have Dana, and she's just your basic little sister. She really doesn't have her own storyline. The brothers and sisters, she's Craig's sister. They pick on each other, and that's about it. She goes to school. She has a boyfriend. Craig doesn't approve of her boyfriend, and he just acts like a big brother. And you have Big Worm, and he's the neighborhood drug dealer. And the funny thing is, he drives an ice cream truck. And the reason why I bring that up is the fact that I watched an episode of How to Get Away with Murder. And the fact that one of the characters had went to a food truck, a basic food truck, and asked for his food to be wrapped in foil. And that was an indication that he wanted drugs. So in an everyday neighborhood, in white America, you could give a secret password and receive ecstasy pills from a food truck. Yet, it makes fun of the fact that the ice cream man is literally a drug dealer. And you even have Stanley. Stanley is that one character That one neighbor that you have who's always working on their lawn, who thinks he's above his neighbors and everything, and gets teased by the residents. It's in every single neighborhood. So it's like, even though this is supposed to take place in the ghetto, if you look at the schematics of this, it could take place anywhere in America using any ethnicity. And that, I believe, is the charm of this movie. And that shows the fact that, yes, black people can be civilized. This movie is not based off of Appearance, so I give Appearance a 3. There is a quote drive-by shooting at the end of the film, but it's done comically. Like, this is a comedy, and it's just a day. It's literally like an afternoon and an evening of two best friends. That's really all it is. So there's nothing to visually see. This movie could actually pass for almost now, today. But the only thing that would be questioned is the fact they have pagers and not cell phones. And their parents, their clothing, I don't think would not pass for nowadays. I mean, because of the type of cinematography they use, it has a very 90s feel to it. But other than that, if it was like remastered with like more crisp cinematography, if you were asked what year was this film to take place in, I don't think they'd say 1995. I don't think they would know. Last but not least, we have Enjoyment. I always liked this movie, but it wasn't until I started doing my podcast and this that I actually analyzed this movie. What was it trying to say? What was it trying to say? So you have your main character, but you have like your main character, Craig, explaining the fact that I don't smoke. I drink. I drink beer. I can't get in trouble for that. I do it at my home. I do it in my own privacy. Smoking is bad. His main love interest can recognize when someone is on drugs because she's on the straight and narrow. And there's a scene where our main character, Craig, smokes a little bit and instantly regrets it. And that may have damaged his relationship with Debbie. And he is very unhappy about that. The fact of having a gun in the house, the father is very against it and gives a very good knowledge bomb. The fact of carrying around a gun doesn't make you a man. These two fists make you a man. When you actually stand up and fight someone, that's what makes you a man. And people nowadays are sissified, ready to pick up a gun. That is a very good knowledge bomb. And it's being explained in a comedy, but it's being explained in a realistic, calm way to get the point to its viewers and not being force-fed down your throat. So a lot of people just look at this as a funny movie, when it comes on TV, I'm going to watch it. But there's a lot more going on with this movie than a lot of people realize. So with all that being said, what does this all mean? What we're going to do is we're going to take those scores, because the scores added up, the 5 categories equals a score, and that score equals the grades. Starting at the top with the rewatch factor, we gave Friday a 4. For the storyline, I gave Friday a 5. For the characters, I gave Friday a 4. For the appearance, I gave Friday a 3. And for enjoyment, I gave enjoyment a 5. So with all that being said, that equals a 21, and that 21 equals an A. Does Friday get into the big book of movies? It sure as hell does. I hope this type of movie, that people could take a look at it again and actually look at the storyline, look at the characters, and see what they're trying to explain, what they're trying to propel to the viewer and actually learn what they're trying to say, that African Americans aren't just these, bloodthirsty, killing each other, drug using individuals that's just the scum of the earth. No, we try to make it happen, Stereotypically, our cultures are from the ghetto or from the streets, but no, we have close-knit families too. We are aspiring individuals too, Yes, this is a comedy, and the only reason it's a comedy is we're trying to tell you a lesson without dramatically shoving it down your throat, I mean, even at the end of the movie, the main character stood up for his love interest because he did not believe in beating a woman, Let's not forget that part, that's, come on now. Watch the movie again and look at the real storyline that it's trying to portray. All right, that's all the time we have here on Mr. J's Big Book of Movies. I don't apologize that I took it a little seriously this time, but hey, that's what we do in movie reviews. Don't forget you can follow me anytime, anywhere here every Saturday. Mr. J's Big Book of Movies. I wasn't feeling well the other week, so my shows were delayed. You can listen to my podcast, Eye for an Eye with Mr. J. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. You can follow our Facebook fan page, and that is at I for Mr. J. Our Twitter page at I for an Eye, spelled just like the podcast. You can email me anytime, anywhere, mws_216@yahoo.com. And below, right there, and right there, subscribe and comment. Let me know what you're thinking about these shows. And as far as I'm concerned, this chapter is now closed.